So budget stuff, a lot of stuff is going to happen next week. Can you kind of just talk about where negotiations are right now and how things are going to progress through the latter part of the session?
We will start on Monday going through the differences document with the entire conference committee. I'm sure, as I said before, we have been going through those with budget staff through briefings for the last several weeks. Assume the minority has as well with budget staff. And so we will begin going through those together. And there's going to be a great deal that is just kind of process of going through things that we agree on and that the documents agree. So there won't be lots of decision points on those things. And then we'll identify those areas where there are decision points to be made, where there are differences in opinions, and we will begin those negotiations.
Will the gas tax increase?
There is still ongoing discussions about revenues for the road fund. No decision has been made on that.
What about the proposal to put set aside a fund for small businesses that I know Governor Beshear was talking about in his budget address?
We have continued to look at that and look at various options. It's a difficult process for state government to set up something that would basically mirror the federal PPP program. We just aren't as agile in those types of procedures as the Small Business Administration is. It's very, very difficult. There's some good points in concept, but when you really drill down and try to find a way for us to affect it, it becomes very difficult. But we're still looking at some other ways to help small businesses and individuals financially that have suffered during this time.
As far as what happened today on the floor, a lot of bills voted on, and a lot of bills sent to the governor's desk. I'm asking this question knowing full well where we're at in the calendar, but what's going on with that?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, as far as why was there such a rush of activity today, and why is it that we're sending so many bills today?
Well, basically we only have 4 days left before veto break. Next week will be very, very heavily concentrated on budget issues, and just thought it was important that we start processing as many bills as we possibly could to get those to the desk, just to take it off the workload for next week, because we know that there will be a lot of distractions next week with the budget, and until we can get that out, it's going to be difficult. And then if we get that out on Friday, which is our hope, then that gives us only 2 days prior to veto break on top of that. So it's just part of the calendar. The loss of the week due to the ice storm made it a much more compact session, and so it's just process.
Speaker, 22 bills cleared the House today.
24.
Thanks for correcting me.
Sure.
I'll go back and do my journalism math. But 24 bills. Some people will sit back at home and they'll say, well, what have they been doing all this time? They don't look at your calendar. They don't understand the process to come here. But 24 bills, and you got out by noon. Do we all know what's in those bills? Do you feel confident about them?
Yeah, those bills have most of them been filed for months now. And, they've been through committee process. Obviously, the Senate bills that we passed today have been through both the Senate committees as well as the House committees, all public meetings. So I think that yes, I think they've been very well vetted. Many of those bills too are things that are bills that have been around for a couple of years and are just now finally making it through the process.
Will the state budget bills, will those be unveiled at that Wednesday's joint A&R meeting? That's at 2:30?
No.
Will it be after that?
That will be up to the conference committee.
Okay. When do you expect us to see budget bills?
That'll be up to the conference committee.
You don't have any expectations?
Sometime next week, I hope, assuming the conference committee can agree.
Do you feel like you've ironed out where you are on the budget at this point, or is there still more work to be done this weekend? And
I think there's still more work to be done. I think that we have, and I say we in a very general sense, I think that we, as the House majority anyway, have arrived at where we are philosophically on the budget, and that is one that is going to be a very conservative budget. It is one that is going to focus on keeping money in the rainy day fund, enhancing that fund as much as possible because of the uncertainty in the economy and the uncertainty of what's going to happen over the next several months, also with the uncertainty of what will happen with federal dollars. We will, as part of that, I think, make some strategic investments in places where we really believe that we can impact families and businesses throughout the Commonwealth. But I think it will be a much more conservative budget than was introduced.
So we're going to end up doing this again next week anyway, as the budget comes out. But philosophically, on that rainy day fund, the argument on the other side was this is the moment when you use a rainy day fund. This is why you have a rainy day fund, so that you can spend it on the people now in this moment of crisis. How did you weigh that decision, and how did you come to the conclusion that you should be adding to it rather than using it?
It was not an easy decision, quite frankly, Daniel. It was one that we have struggled with for months on how much we are willing to risk on the uncertainty in the economy. I think everybody, I continue to say, everybody is, incredibly surprised and gratified that our revenue numbers have not fallen. But I also think that we have to be cognizant of the fact that there are thousands of businesses in Kentucky that have closed. There are still tens of thousands of people that can't even get unemployment claims processed and haven't had them processed for as much as a year. There's no way that can continue to not manifest itself in our revenue numbers at some point in time. And we will be back in here in 9 months, again, making changes to the budget. And I believe it is in the best interest of the Commonwealth, as well as the citizens of the Commonwealth and businesses of the Commonwealth, that we prepare for a potential cliff in revenues, because at least that allows people to prepare. It allows people to plan. Does not make them have to suffer through mid-year adjustments if those numbers fall off.
What's the status of Sandy Corner gas tax bill, or those provisions passing in some form or another?
Again, we continue to discuss that. It continues to be part of the conversation. There's no consensus on it yet, but there is support for it. But there's also a lot that we haven't arrived at a consensus on yet too.
Is there any possibility, is there any possibility that an increase on the HHR tax gets put in the budget in some way? Is that part of the discussion?
It has not been part of the discussion. We have got the work group that President Stivers and I are going to put together to look at that issue. I think it's unlikely, as we discussed during that period of time that was passing, specifically with both the majority and the minority, that the entire parimutuel tax code is very, very dated and cumbersome. And I think it needs to be a very thoughtful, well thought out process. I don't think it's likely that they will reach any kind of consensus on what that looks like before March 30th.
Okay, we've got time for a couple more questions, and I have one.
As far as House Bill 21, Attica Scott's bill on no-knock warrants, I know that the committee chairman at least talked about putting that up for a committee vote and kind of getting that process going. How do you feel about where that bill is at, and do you feel like there's enough time to get that bill done? And I guess in general, where are we at with this whole conversation of that bill versus Senate Bill 4?
Again, there are ongoing discussions about that. The chairman of the committee is continuing to work with Representative Scott on that. We are also having active conversations with the Senate President on Senate Bill 4. I expect there to be some resolution on that, hopefully by next week.
Do you expect a bill at least dealing with no-knock warrants in some form to be passed by the end of the session?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
My only one is, you obviously have cleared out a lot of bills from the House, putting the ball into the Senate's court. Are there, I know you love all of your bills, but are there ones that you really want to see the Senate act on in the next few days?
we are having those conversations about the ones that, obviously it's kind of been a churn process to just get things moving. We're having those conversations with the Senate about those things that they've sent us that are very, very important to them. We were talking to our members about those things. So it's clearly there's not enough time. There's not enough bandwidth to pass every Senate bill that they've sent us, and they're not going to pass every House bill. So we will try to address that over the next couple days and whittle that list down.
And I mean, the real kind of crux of that is the election bill on that. That's a pretty major election reform bill.
It's a bill that's important to us, yes.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, we've got one more question, last question that was actually emailed in. Just a response, if you don't mind, to the ruling in Franklin Circuit Court and what happens next. Will there be attempts to revise House Bill 1, Senate Bill 1, and Senate Bill 2?
We are continuing to review all of our legal options and all of our potential actions in regard to it. Clearly we're not surprised by the lower court's rulings. Obviously, it's disappointing, but not surprising. I don't think any of us expected that bill or those bills to sail through Franklin Circuit Court. I do think that it's worth noting that there's much conversation between the legal minds right now as to whether that injunction only enjoins those bills in Franklin County. There is an absolute argument to be made that those bills are in effect throughout the remainder of the Commonwealth, with the exception of Franklin County.
All right, thank you. Sorry,